For 41 years of my life, I had a chance to be a coach in basketball and also 14 years a coach in golf. And I remember when I started teaching back in the early 1970s, we had something called Title IX that came along to protect women's sports and, in fact, to advance it. And for 20-some years of my life, I helped to coach girls basketball and saw a lot of young ladies go on to get Division I scholarships. Today, we have a question about fairness in sports. And there is a bill right now, which is out before the State House, House Bill 972, which talks about fairness in women's sports. In fact, it's called the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. Our next conversation that's going to be had today is going to be between Cheryl Lynn Allen, who is the first African-American woman to be elected to the Pennsylvania Superior Court in 2007, and she is a Pittsburgh native, a former Pittsburgh public school teacher, so she knows a little something about women and kids and teaching and educating. She's a graduate of Penn State University, University of Pittsburgh School of Law. She also spent 15 years practicing law before earning a merit selection appointment to the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas in 1990. She is also associated with the Pennsylvania Family Institute and the Independence Law Center, and she serves on several different boards. With her today will be Barb Gleim, who is the 199th representative, Cumberland County, state representative, has served the 199th for a few years now, and I was reading down all the things they had here, and she said it was not her fault that all that was in the book here, that her staff sent that. She said, please don't read all of that, and she paid me $10, and I said I'd be glad not to. But no, in all seriousness, the one thing she did say, she said, just say that I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer. But I'm also going to embarrass her just a little bit, because in talking to her, she also said that she was an athlete, and she went to University of Maryland back in the day, and I'm not, I'm smart enough to know you don't say when, okay? It wasn't in the 1900s, okay? But she went to, well, it's better than me. I was in the 1800s, so don't feel too bad. But Barb played soccer, and I looked at her and I said, you had to be like a center forward, because you look like a person to be scoring goals up front. She goes, actually, I was a wing. So she's a wing woman right now for the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. And we're going to invite Cheryl Lynn Allen and Barbara Gleim to come out right now on the stage. Please give them a great round of applause, will you please? They're going to be sitting over here with the conversation today.
Thank you. Thank you. That was funny.
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Oops. Now, I never guessed in a million years that I would be sitting here talking about biological males playing sports with females in a competitive way. But that's where we are today. And in my studies, now, sex, which is mentioned in our laws as well as Title VII and Title IX, is biologically based. Sex is not a social construct, as they are attempting to establish today. Race is a social construct. But today they are attempting to convince us all that sex and gender are two different things. I always thought they were one and the same, but who knew? They are attempting to convince us that sex and gender are two different things, and that gender is a social construct. It's based upon roles and behaviors and expressions, and it does not have its basis in biology. Gender, according to the left, is based upon feelings, whereas, and it's also considered or described as gender identity, which is based upon feelings rather than facts. Sex is biologically based, gender is based upon one's beliefs. And so that is going to form the basis of our discussion today as we talk about girls' sports and fairness. And before we do that, we do have a video to show you.
I started running track in middle school. At first, it was just for fun, something to do after school. But by high school, I began to appreciate the beauty of the sport, what's required both mentally and physically to succeed. The intensity, the discipline, the precision. To compete at a high level in track takes years of dedication to a single goal. There's nothing more satisfying than crossing that finish line first. But running is only satisfying, and all that sacrifice is only worth it if the race is fair. In my freshman year, the night before a big race, my parents told me that a biological male who identifies as a girl would be competing in my race the next day. On the bus heading to the event, our coach also gave me the news. I didn't have much time before the race to process what this might mean, but I had plenty of time to process it afterward. And for the next few years of my high school career, as I watched again and again, first one, then two, biological males dominate girls' track events in our state. It started from what might have seemed like a fair idea. The Connecticut Athletic Association decided that males who believe they are girls can compete against girls. But beliefs don't change biology, and the result has been anything but fair. Since 2017, the two biological male runners who have competed in girls' high school track in Connecticut have won 15 women's track championship titles. Titles that were held by 9 different girls in 2016. 4 of those state championship titles should have been mine. They've also shattered girls' track records. Those two biological males now hold 17 all-time individual women's meet records in Connecticut. As a result, the rest of us have lost over 85 opportunities to qualify for higher levels of competition, losing scholarship opportunities, titles, and wider recognition. I remember the 55-meter indoor track competition in the 2019 state championship. I finished in 7.23 seconds. That was the top time among biological girls, but third overall. The male who finished second in the race clocked in at 7.01 seconds. The new women's state champion, also a male, broke the all-time record for the event, finishing in 6.95 seconds, a time that would have earned that same runner 140th place in the men's 55-meter dash that year. It's hard to explain the feeling that no matter how talented you are, no matter how hard you train, how much you practice, how much you want to win, you've already lost before the competition even begins. Losing builds character, but only if the competition is fair. I and 2 of my fellow female runners, Selena and Alana, sued the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference in federal court with the help of Alliance Defending Freedom. We challenged their policy because it unfairly discriminates against us girls. Studies have shown that male athletes consistently achieve results 10 to 20% higher than comparably fit and trained women across almost all athletic events. Even when males suppress testosterone, some of men's physical advantages never go away, like greater lung capacity, larger skeletal size, and greater bone density. In 1972, Congress passed Title IX, a civil rights law that was designed, in part, to stop discrimination against girls and women and to provide them with equal athletic opportunities. But now, in the name of progress, Connecticut and other states are undoing all of that. For the first time in nearly 50 years, they are tilting the playing field against women. That's not progress, and that's not fairness. It's discrimination.
So, Representative Gleim, we have to consider the fact that no amount of feelings or no amount of beliefs can overcome the fact that every female woman is born with XX chromosomes and a male is XY. They have different levels of testosterone, different body structures, and that's the reason why we have Title IX. Now, when I was coming along, a long time ago, there were no women's sports. I went to high school, attended college prior to Title IX. And so, what is the point of Title IX at this point? Is it null and void?
It's not null and void. We just have to uphold it. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of people out in this audience, because I'm older than some of the younger girls today didn't realize the struggles of the great athletes like a Martina Navratilova and those who fought so hard to get the NCAA to recognize women's sports. In my own, experience, when I got to the University of Maryland, there was not an official NCAA recognized soccer team. And we fought hard to get that. And now, these girls today, the opportunities that they have with the feeder programs, some of you are familiar with those, and they have scholarship opportunities now. And if you are going to, and the government is going to allow biological males to compete against these female athletes, they're going to wipe out 50 years of advances for women. You won't have women's sports. You will have male sports and you'll have mixed. And that's the reality of this situation that we're in. And we need to fight it. And I just wanted to say, we're being called names like transphobes. There's five female athletes that are prime sponsors of our bill. And we all played sports. And we're not there to be mean to anyone. We're not there to, create a situation where there's certain people that aren't feeling recognized, but we're there just to make sure that it's fair. And so that's why we introduced this, and we're going to fight it, and we're going to say that if you are identifying as a female and you're a biological male, you still have to play on the male team, okay? And allow the females to have their own sport and compete amongst each other.
Now the NCAA bylaws state that a transgender female, who is actually a biological male, must be fully transitioned and have been receiving hormone treatment for at least a year. They go on to state that testosterone levels must be 10 nanomoles or lower to compete. The average testosterone level for biological females is 1.6 nanomoles. The highest recorded testosterone level for a biological female is 4.8 nanomoles. And any female who records a testosterone level of 5 or above will be flagged for doping and cannot compete. So in other words, a transgender female who is actually a biological male can compete as long as his or her testosterone level is below 10, but a biological female cannot compete if her testosterone level is 5 or above, because she will have been considered to have taken some kind of drug. She will be considered as having been doped, and she will be eliminated from competition.
Yes, that's true. And I know that there are some scientists and doctors who are fighting this at the Olympic level. They understand that even if you bring those nanomoles down, if you're a biological male competing with the females, down to 10, you're still at an advantage. So when we're talking about fairness in women's sports, we're not just talking about the fairness for opportunities and being allowed to compete with other women. We're also talking about the fact that biologically it's not fair based off of the testosterone levels that they have in competition. And I know that there are studies coming out right now in the British Journal of Medicine that are proving the fact that there is still a biological advantage for these transgender females when they are competing against biological females.
So despite suppressing testosterone, biological males still have a great advantage over biological females. They have greater lung capacity, larger skeletons, and more bone density. Also, because of their added testosterone level, it gives them a level of strength that is greater than any female. And so what happens during, let's say, a contact sport? I mean, track is not a contact sport, but wrestling or even basketball. What happens during a contact sport?
Well, we talk about also how allowing transgender females to compete against females is harmful from an educational standpoint, but it's also from a physical standpoint, just like you say. Women will get hurt eventually. We've already had a couple of those instances in boxing and in any type of contact sport. I mean, even field hockey, we are seeing that those transgender females are much stronger hitting, using a stick, and females are physically getting hurt out on the playing field or in any of these contact sports. So we have to take that into consideration as well. I think that the order that was sent down by the Biden administration mandating that transgender females be allowed to play was based off of maybe what we call today a value signaling, and how I look at this is, again, just like we were talking about in critical race theory, is that it is using discrimination to discriminate. You're saying that you're discriminatory if you don't allow the transgender females to compete, but then what are you doing to all the women then who are getting displaced? That's discrimination because you're not adhering to Title IX. So it's a really interesting issue that we plan to fight, and I hope that we can reach across, all aspects of organizations, especially female organizations that we don't normally talk to, don't normally pair with. Even some feminist organizations perhaps would be willing to help this issue. And we have Caitlyn Jenner that came out, and she is opposed to transgender females playing on female teams. So I think it's just a matter of talking and discussing the issue and realizing that this isn't the way to do it.
Now, what is the status of the legislation that you and other members of the Republican legislature have proposed?
Well, in Pennsylvania, we're actually one of only 4 states that does not have a policy on this so far. We have 15 states that have told the president, we're not going to be doing that here in our state. We have 15 states that are adhering to the NCAA rule, but this legislation that we are introducing is basically saying to the Biden administration that Pennsylvania will not be adhering to his mandate. We are not going to be allowing transgender females to play on women's sports. They can play in other areas, but not in this manner. And right now it's in the House Education Committee. We will be having a hearing on the issue and hopefully passing it out of committee and sending it to the Senate in the fall.
And what would you suggest to our audience as to how they can get involved in promoting this legislation?
Again, you've heard this, if you've been here throughout the day, please get involved in your school boards. When you're talking about critical race theory, talk about this issue as well. It is definitely a violation of Title IX, and you don't want that for the girls in your school. And reach out to some of the other organizations, write op-eds, get involved and be vocal on this issue, because we cannot allow 50 years of advancements for women's sports to just go away.
Well, as we conclude, I would like to read for the record a statement that was made by Governor DeSantis, and I don't hold out much hope for our current governor, but I think that this statement certainly provides us with the impetus to work hard on getting a new governor, one who would be more open to fairness in women's sports. But anyway, Governor DeSantis stated, "Just let me say very clearly that in Florida, we are going to do what is right. We'll stand up to the corporations. They're not going to dictate the policies of this state. We'll stand up to groups like the NCAA who think they should be able to dictate the policies of different states. We won't be cowed. We will stand strong. If the price of what we do is that we lose an event or two, I would choose to protect our young girls every day of the week and twice on Sunday." In other words, as the governor said, this issue, this philosophy is not based on biology. It's based on ideology. And the left is constantly telling us, at least with regard to COVID, trust the science. Well, they should trust the science here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.